So there's more to this story of spiritual awakening than rainbows and unicorns. But when you first start out, it actually feels like rainbows and unicorns because everything's so exciting and magical. Hi, my name is Elizabeth Eleanor, and I am a spiritual mentor. I'm an intuitive empath, and I have been on a journey for 27 years now of spiritually waking up and really getting to understand this higher realm that gives us the ability to really create magic in our lives instead of the mundane life that ordinary people that have a limited consciousness actually understand, because there is way more to us than meets the eye. So I was challenged to do 365 days of getting on YouTube and telling the story of some of the things that have happened to me as I've gone along. And I've had all sorts of crazy stuff, from 3 shooting stars when I first spiritually woke up, which I've already shared. Today is day 9, and I've already shared that. So go back and check. Wait a minute, like and comment. No, I want you to hit the subscribe button and hit the bell as well for notifications as we put things on here. I'm still getting used to this, so bear with me. But my story is really interesting, and I really believe that there are people that are coming together in the next, maybe, anywhere between, now and the next 5 to 10 years, where we will be seeing a lot more people waking up and having these really amazing intuitive experiences and wanting to know if they're going crazy or not. So I've been challenged to come on here for 365 days and share my story of all the magic. So everything from 3 shooting stars when I spiritually woke up to, coincidences like Oleander Street to Oleander Drive. I could tell you stories about my cars as well. And, I've gone through 2 health challenges that were pretty significant, from, 15 centimeter fibroid and a 4.5 centimeter brain tumor that I just breezed through because of this connection from my higher self, right? And this is what I want to share with you, that it isn't just for 1 or 2 people that is special. There is no special. It is for all of us. It's just that if you've come on here, it means that you've got the ability, and your universal higher frequency, your higher self, is actually guiding you here to listen to this message right now, because you're either having the experience yourself or you're about to have the experience. And I'm telling you, it is normal and it's okay. And this is what life's all about, right? Is being able to create beyond our wildest dreams. So when you first start out, it's all, the experiences are pretty wild, like they seem surreal. Go back and watch some of my other information. You'll see that, I did 7 years of past life regression training. I've been in a little mini cult, which was with my mentor that did that training. I had 3 shooting stars, all of the things. But when it really started making a difference was when I recognized who it was in my head that was talking to me, and to differentiate the difference between my negative self-talk and my unconscious and my higher self-wisdom that actually was coming through, giving me guidance and showing me how to manipulate my world and how to keep going, right? How to keep moving forward and living this beautiful dream that now, I met the love of my life on the beach. His last name is Makepeace, and my maiden name used to be Pain, Payne. So I've gone from Pain to Makepeace. You can't make this stuff up, right? All the things that have gone on have been absolutely crazy experiences. So let's get into it. I had the experience that I was spiritually waking up. I didn't know all the things, it was all still new to me. I'd only just started, met Rhonda and the group that I was in, and I was still trying to work it all out, right? I had some people come up When my dad died when I was 15, I went loose. I went a bit crazy. I was 15 years old. Uh, I ran away from home, you could say, and moved in with my first ever boyfriend. And I think we were both, well, we were both very damaged and very broken, just like any other traumatized kids. Like, that's a really hard time in life, right? 15. And so we went on a 10-year bender. He became an alcoholic. We both got into drugs, and pretty hardcore drugs. And at the end of that, we had kids, and I needed to clean myself up and become a mum. And so through that process, it was really hard the, um, getting off the pot and speed and all the other things that we were doing. And I left it behind and cleaned myself up, did more in that first year than I had for the 10 years before that. Was really on a roll, left it all behind, and moved up to far north Queensland. Spiritually woke up, went to a psychic, and had that experience. Go back and see day one, I think it is, and all the things that happened. And then someone from my past came back into my life and offered me some speed again. And it was right at the time when I was really struggling with my emotions, with being a single mum. I was doing it hard with financially. The father of my kids was not around. He wasn't available a lot, and I was doing it tough. And I had this moment. Someone asked if I wanted some, and I had this moment where I saw a vision of a snake, and I knew it was a sign, and I did it anyway. I had some when I shouldn't have. I went backwards. And at the same time, my kids had found this beautiful Burmese cat around about a week before, and just walking down the street, and it was absolutely gorgeous little kitten. So we put signs up everywhere to see if anyone wanted, had lost this kitten. No one said anything. We didn't get any phone calls, nothing. We had the cat inside the house so that we didn't lose it. And the day after, or 2 days or 3 days after, I have this experience and then realize that I shouldn't have done it and all the things. This cat, I decided to allow her to go outside for a moment, just, to check out. She'd been in the house for a week, and my brother rings up, and next thing I hear this screaming and carrying on out the front, and I look out, and there's two pit bull terriers that have just grabbed this cat and, shaking it like a rag doll. It was horrible. So I throw the phone down and I race outside and I chase these two dogs screaming like a banshee, and they let go of the cat, and the cat drags itself with its front feet to the side of the gutter, and it was limp at the back and it had broken its back. So I take the cat to the vet thinking that the vet is going to put the cat down. But the vet says, well, actually, sometimes they come good. So, why don't we just check and see? So tried to keep the cat safe and quiet in the bathroom, but it just went, it was crazy. It would run around the house with just its front legs, chasing geckos up the fly screens. It just would not settle down. And it just started getting used to having no back legs, right? Well, the same time that this was happening, unbeknown to me, my body went into a spiritual response, in my opinion, and I start getting something in my eye, like a cold sore it was in my eye. So the cat is going to down to Cairns every day to have its bladder emptied and all the things. And then I'd drop the cat off at the house, and then I'd go back up to the other, like up north to the doctor to have my eye with some medication put in my eye. So every day I'd go down south. Took me half an hour to go down that way, get the cat done, put the cat back, go half an hour up north and get my eye seen to. And you can imagine it was a pretty traumatic experience, lots going on. I was trying to work out my life, all of the things, right? It's pretty hard being a single mum when you're not getting much help. So this one day, we'd come home from shopping, and my son had made an paper aeroplane, and he was looking for it and he couldn't find it, and he just upended the whole house, right, looking for this paper aeroplane. And by the time he found it, the house was a mess and it was late, and I just left the house the way it was. We all went to bed. I take the kids the next day to school and to the bus, to get the bus, and it was at the shops just up the road where the bus stop was. And so I take the kids to the bus, and on the way I see a rainbow. And I have this moment where I hear in my head, you know, there's a rainbow, that rainbow's for you, right? Because I was feeling pretty down and hard on myself that I had made that mistake and gone backwards, and all the things that were happening with the kids and the cat and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I start walking back home from the bus, and it starts sprinkling and there's clouds. And I think to myself, that's right, there's, clouds, and just my whole life's like this, right? And I get this thing in my head, this voice in my head that says, just because there's clouds doesn't mean the rainbow's not there. Well, I walk home and open the door to the house that was full of paper, mess everywhere. And I walk in, and the cat that only had 2 legs had done diarrhea over everything in the lounge room and all through the kitchen. You can imagine how I felt, right? Like I just stood there. Like, what would you do? I just stood there in shock. Like, seriously? Can it just get any worse? Like, I just couldn't believe that this was happening in my life, right? And I have this voice in my head say, don't even look at it. Don't look at the lounge room. Go into the kitchen and start washing up. And I listened. So I went into the kitchen, put some warm water into the sink and dunk my hands into the water, and just had that moment of soothing myself with my hands in this beautiful, warm, soapy water. I start cleaning the plates and just having a moment to pause. Well, I get another voice in my head saying, stop now and go and put the clothes on the line. Well, I listened. I left, even though there was still dishes to be washed. I went outside and I started putting clothes on the line. So putting the clothes on the line, I'm halfway through the clothes on the line. I get the voice again. Stop, go and make the beds. So all the way through, if anyone had watched, I would have looked like a crazy woman, because I was not completing each task. I was going from each task to each task incomplete, but I was listening to this voice in my head that was saying, stop now and do this, stop now and do this. And I listened all the way through. Well, by the time the kids got home from school, not only had I cleaned the house, I had completely spring cleaned the house, inside cupboards, washed walls, you name it. And I was just on this absolute high, because I didn't listen to that voice that had complained about the rainbow and the clouds. I listened to the voice that was telling me and encouraging me to do an inspired action. And I listened outside of logic. I just listened to what that voice was saying to me, even though it didn't seem logical, because I'd be halfway through, because, you think about it, you're outside, you've got maybe 3 or 4 lots of clothes left to put on the line. Your unconscious mind goes, well, look, I've only got a couple more. I'll just do this, right? And it will go and do it, even though that first voice was telling you or telling me to stop and do something else. So what I noticed in that moment, and I really say that this all came from that cat, because when the cat actually got attacked by 2 pit bull terriers, there was a guy across the road that saw the incident, and I needed to go over there and get a signature because I wanted those dogs safe and not out prowling in the neighborhood and, kids and all the things. So I was putting a report in to have those dogs behind a fence, right? And so I had to go and ask this guy to sign, and he was an old bushman. His name was Salty, and he was an old bloke that mowed lawns for a living, right? And I knocked on his door, and this is when I was in this space of not actually, I don't think I was actually with the group at that stage. I'd only just had the psychic experience, and I was still trying to work out what was going on and all the things. So I knock on his door, and he lets me into his house, and he's got all of these pieces of paper with Buddhist sayings all over his walls. Turns out he had been reading the Buddhist texts, the ancient texts, I can't remember the name of it, since he was a teenager. And he gave me a book called Relationship with God from Neale Donald Walsch. Now, if anyone knows Neale Donald Walsch's work, he actually started with a thing called Conversations with God. And there's book 1, 2, and 3. But book 4, which is not part of the trilogy, is the first book outside of the trilogy, was called Relationship with God. And that is the one that I started with. And when I started reading it, it was an aha moment of, oh, is that who's in my head? It's God talking to me. So when I had this moment with the cat, I was able to actually take note of the voice in my head that was telling me what to do, the inspired action, telling me. It was loud and clear, right? It was clearer and louder than the other voice that was putting me down. So when you first start out in this spiritual journey, there's a real, in my opinion, because we're so used to being broken and dysfunctional and putting ourselves down and listening to the voice that's negative, it's quite easy to differentiate between the 2 voices, because one is quite negative and the other one is encouraging. But the more you do this work, the more that encouraging voice is something that you're used to. And because you've cleaned up your vibration, you've cleaned up past lives, you've cleaned up a lot of the generational stuff, you've cleaned up your vibration to a point where your frequency is quite high. Sometimes it's a little hard to differentiate between those 2 voices anymore, because the unconscious no longer puts you down, is not negative. There's no judgment. It doesn't judge others. It doesn't judge you. It has a way of manipulating in a different way, which is very interesting. What it does, and I'm just thinking of this as I'm talking about it, what it does is it's more likely to distract you and to justify why you're not doing something. So, for example, you may be having some challenges with a person in your life, in a relationship. There's nothing major, right? But you just feel that there's a bit of a irk in the system. I call it a bump in the system between you and somebody else, right? Now, what can happen is your unconscious, that no longer makes this big noise about it, just gently says, oh, it's not anything really, and you've already cleaned it up in your own field, and you know what, you don't need validation from this person. You don't need to express how you're feeling. You don't need to do all these things. You've already sorted it out in your own vibrational field. Just don't worry about it. And so here it is in this little tiny thing, vibrationally just, Groundhog Day in the background, that is so subtle that you're not even aware that it's there. And it's actually affecting something over here. It could be affecting your health. It could be affecting your job or your business. It could be, like you could be at work, for example, and you're having a challenge with somebody at work that's very similar to this one over here, and you respond exactly the same way. I don't need to sort that out because I've already sorted that out over here and I'm good, right? What happens is the ego or the unconscious plays games in different ways. It's not as loud, but it's a bit more tricky. And through that um, way of being, it's like, my one of my business mentors um, said to me once, it's like having a boat. You've got this boat, you're sailing down the river of life, right? And when you first start going out on this boat, you notice these big holes. So you can go in and you can fix all these big holes up and sort them out, right? But the longer you've been on that boat, the more it's tricky to see the holes, because now the holes are these little tiny pinprick holes that are harder to find, and maybe they're underneath the seat that you're actually sitting on, right? And so these holes are always there because there's more layers and more layers, and we're not done in this journey. We live in a vibrational um, dimension where we're in the third dimension, where we're still in duality, right? We're still us and them. There's still like a separation happening. We've got a long way to go. There's many, many dimensions that we can come as a human species, from this separation to at least the fifth dimension of recognizing our unity with each other, and the cosmos and the other beings that are out there in the cosmos. So we've got a long way to go. So there's more for us to delve into and to clean up our vibration. And so the longer you're on this journey, the more those little tweaks can be a little bit more challenging to find. However, I want you to recognize that when there's resistance over here with something, it could be holding you in a timeline where you're missing the love of your life. I met my beautiful partner at the beach. In fact, today is 3 years since that very moment that we saw each other at the beach. It was on the 16th of January, and it was in the evening. So it was just, maybe it was about 5 o'clock. So we're not quite there, like from an hour point of view. But today was the day that we met at the beach, and we're the only two on the beach. Actually, I just watched the video, and there were two surfers out in the ocean, because I was taking video of the how big the waves were, and there was two surfers there that I was taking video of. But other than that, there was no one on the beach. And if you haven't cleaned up what's going on over here, you could miss that whole opportunity and be on a completely different timeline and completely miss the love of your life. the person that you are contracted to meet and to have some amazing magical experiences with. We've been together for 3 years, and man, has it been a beautiful journey. So that's me for today. If you're finding that you've been on this journey for a while, and I'd love to get you to comment below and let me know where you're at on your spiritual path. If you're just starting, if you've been on it for a while, let me know how many years you have, and tell me in the comments what your understanding is of, you know, cleaning up those little vibrations and how you're going, and give advice to anyone else that might be watching. I know personally myself is being aware of those moments, those little vibrations, cleaning them up, you know, neutralizing them out of my field, checking to see how much of it might be from a past life or generational history, or is it just my own conditioning here? It might even be multidimensional, right? All the things that can be affecting us now, because we are not separate. We're not a rock. We are here doing all of this together and rising together. So one of my sayings in my company, which I do a thing called this, my whole business is the Ascendance Code, is together we rise, together we ascend, and together we create. So I'd love for you to subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. I just got it right. And comment below if anything resonated or you want to just share your journey below. Take care.